Hey guys, welcome back. And before we start, yes, I do know Chris Brown is very problematic. I saw him in concert like a year or two ago, and I really liked him. I like his songs. I don't like what he does as a person, so I just had to throw that out there real quick. But today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be my April wrap-up. I did not get as much reading as I hoped to get to this month. Does that make I didn't read as much as I was hoping this month, but that's okay. I did manage to read 7 books, which is not too shabby. And I had a really good reading month. Like, I had nothing lower than a 4-star. So that's like really good. But before we get started, let me give you some stats. My page count is 2,516. I read 4 ebooks and 3 physical. I had 1 5-star, 3 4.5 star, and 3 4 stars. And I read 5 female authors and 1 male author. So I'm just gonna tell you guys what books I read first. So the first book I read in the month of April was The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. And now this is a thriller, and this one's kind of hard to describe, but it follows 2 timelines, one in 2017, 2014. And then the other one in like the 1950s. And it's pretty crazy because they're both somewhat tied. So the girl in 2017, we're just gonna say 17 because I don't remember. She is a reporter, and she's doing this story on this boarding school that's like been abandoned and closed down, but something tragic happened there. And some people bought the property and is gonna like fix it up and make it a school again. And she's like, whoa, 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 this is a perfect story. And so she's following that, but back in the 50s, it follows these 4 girls who are going there, and it's kind of haunted, so it's really scary, and they both kind of tie together, and it's really good, and it's a good book. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I said, wow, this book was creepy and had an amazing plot. That's all I say. Now the next book I read was The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart. I gave this book 4 stars. I was hoping to really love it, and I really did like it. Did like it. This book is about this guy. What's his name? I can never remember characters' names, but it's about this guy, and he's always in the background, and he's always in the shadow of his roommates because this is a college romance, and his roommate is like this big time football player, and he's in the band. But he loves it. He doesn't mind. That's just how things have always been. And so finally he meets this girl, and he's tired of being in the background, so he goes and gets her. But it's like a friends to lovers romance, and it was so good. The beginning, the reason why it wasn't 5 stars is because in the beginning it felt very predictable. Like, it felt like every other romance ever. But at the end, like towards the middle and the end, it was super cute, and I loved it so much. The characters literally deserve everything. The next book I read was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I gave this book 4 stars. This book creeped me out to the max. So if you don't know what Coraline is about, it's about this girl, and she walks through this like little portal in her house, and on the other side there's a family exactly like hers, except they have buttons, and now the mom wants to keep her forever, and so buttons into Coraline's eyes. So Coraline has to go on this mission, and it's super cool, and the book is so different from the movie. I know. There's no YB in the book. That was a little crazy. But yeah, I really liked it. I really liked how like kind of fast-paced it was. The thing that really tripped me out about this book was how mature Coraline talked. Because this is a children's book, I was just kind of taken aback by how mature she talked, which isn't a problem, but it was, you know, it is what it is. But I had a really good time reading this book. I recommend it. It's quick, it's fun, and Neil Gaiman himself does the audiobook, which was phenomenal. His voice is amazing. So yeah. The next 2 books I have to talk about are part of a series, and that is Wicked Saints and Ruthless Gods by Emily A. Duncan. I read Wicked Saints like so fast in just a few days, and I listened to the audiobook reading this one because the names in here are really hard to pronounce, so the audiobook really helped me out. The thing that messed me up though is in the audiobook they pronounced one of the characters' names as Malachias, But then I saw the author read a passage from the book, and she said Malechius. So the audiobook lied to me, but other than that, the audiobook was amazing. I recommend the audiobook so much. So basically, Wicked Saints is about this girl, and she could speak to the gods. And I think in her pantheon, is that the right word? I don't know. There's like 20 gods, and she can communicate to all of them, and she's the first cleric in history to be able to do that. Basically, there's these two countries at war, and one country she belongs to, the other country, they do like this blood magic and they're heretics and all this stuff. But then she ends up like, I don't know how to describe it without like spoiling it, but yeah, conflicts and a forbidden romance. So that was neat, and the first book left off on such a cliffhanger. I bought the second book. If you haven't seen my unboxing for this book, you should definitely go check it out because it's really cool. So this book pretty much is 6 months after Wicked Saints, and this book was really long. It's bigger than Wicked Saints, and I felt like it was a little slow paced. I gave Wicked Saints 5 stars, and I gave Ruthless Gods 4 stars because of that reason. But I still really loved it, had the same good characters, and the story progressed. And this one left off on an even bigger cliffhanger, so I really need the third book. Emily Duncan, I'm talking to you. But yeah, I really love this series, and I know people, I've said this before, they either hate it or they love it. I love it. And if you think you'll love it, pick it up. It's worth a shot. And it's so good. And these covers are literally just amazing. This is the Owl Crate edition, and this one I think I got off of book outlet. So yeah, these books are amazing. Recommend them. The next book I read is amazing, and I'm recommending this from now until the day I die. This book was so good, and that is The Flight Girls by Noelle Salazar. This book, oh my goodness. I originally rated this one 3.5 stars for the sole reason that the writing got confusing in like a middle of a sentence. I'd have to like read it a few times before it made sense in my brain. But the story was just so good, I might just like bump it up. Like, I really don't even care. So basically, this story follows this girl. Her name is Audrey. So basically, the story follows this girl, Audrey, in 1941. It starts off in 1941. It's told in 3 parts. And they didn't let women into the military, so she went to Pearl Harbor. She's training the pilots who are gonna go fight. So she can't fight, so she's training the ones who can. Well, she's training the Japanese to attack on Pearl Harbor, and that was really crazy, really fast-paced, and I really, really, really loved it. It was so good. I cried 80 pages into this book, and I was already bawling. So that's the first part of the book, and then it skips like to a year and a half later where she joins the WASP program, and that is called Women Air Force Service Pilots Program. And over there she learns how to fly more military planes, and then after that she joins this thing where she just like flies planes back and forth and like helping the ones overseas. And there's this romance in here, and it's phenomenal. It's heartbreaking, and I cried. I cannot stress to you guys enough how much I cried reading this book. The romance in here is so well done, and there's a little bit of a love triangle for a second, but it's shot down so quick, thank goodness. And this book is so good. If you even have the slightest inkling on picking this book up, pick it up. It is so good, and it's so good. Now the last book I read is called Teardrop Shot, and I don't know how to say the author's name, but it's right here. And this is a basketball romance. It is a friends to lovers romance, and I gave this book 4 stars only because I started reading this book, and then I stopped, and then I read Ruthless Gods, and Ruthless Gods took me over a week to read. that was when I fell into my little slump. And then I picked this one back up. So it took me like 2 weeks to read this one, but I never lost interest, which is very good. This book was really well written. It was really good. It's heartbreaking. I cried in this book too. So this book is about this girl. I literally just finished this book last night and I can't even remember her name. Charlie. Her name's Charlie, and she got roped into running this camp with her old friends that she hasn't seen in 6 years because of certain circumstances. And at the camp, she finds out that there's a professional basketball team training there, and it's nonetheless than her favorite team. And so she becomes friends with the best player on the team, Reese, and they form a beautiful friendship that turns into a little bit more, but not until like the end of the book. Like, it's a little bit of a slow burn, kinda, but Charlie deals with so much stuff in her life, and it's heartbreaking with what she's been through, and I can't even imagine it. And it was so good, so well done. I don't know, I can't speak on experience from this book, and this book was just so good. But yeah, those are all the books I read this month, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys had a good reading month. Let me know what you read. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I love you, and I'll see you next time.